As the saying goes, good things come to those who wait. But the question is, should you be waiting for the next generation Nissan Leaf? And more importantly, if you're an existing Nissan Leaf leaseholder, should you extend your lease a little bit further until September this year when the 2018 Leaf is due to debut? Yes, finally, Nissan has announced the next generation Leaf. Hi, I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. Welcome to another Transport Evolved vlog. We're talking about the Nissan Leaf today, thanks to two announcements made this morning by Nissan USA promoting the next generation Nissan Leaf. Now, these two announcements made consecutively on Twitter basically say that the next generation 2018 Nissan Leaf will debut in September, and we should have deliveries to customers by the end of the year. But the second tweet was more interesting if you happen to be an existing Nissan Leaf leaseholder. Effectively, Nissan's going to let you extend your existing lease if it's due to expire before the end of the year, just so that you can stay being a Nissan Leaf customer until the new Leaf arrives. And you can actually put your name down when you extend your Leaf to buy the next generation Leaf when it comes to market in Q4 this year. But the question is, should you? Well, if I'm honest, it's just a way to stop customers leaving the brand for Chevrolet. It's something that we've seen a lot of in the last few months. The Chevrolet Bolt began deliveries at the end of last year, and I already know 6 people who've traded in their Nissan Leafs for a Chevrolet Bolt EV, basically because they've got fed up waiting for Nissan to come out with details of the next generation Leaf. Now, Nissan has said the 2018 Leaf is coming this September, but it still hasn't talked about range, it still hasn't talked about features all that much. We do know that it's going to have a range of in excess of 200 miles per charge, and based on the range for the Chevrolet Bolt EV and the upcoming Tesla Model 3, I'm going to guess that Nissan's going to do everything it possibly can to ensure that the 2018 Leaf comes in somewhere between 200 and 250 miles per charge of its 60 kilowatt hour battery pack. We also know that there's going to be some degree of autonomy in the next generation Leaf. Now, okay, it's not going to be full autonomous driving capabilities, but Nissan has already confirmed that the 2018 Leaf will have ProPilot first generation or ProPilot second generation technology. That means that it should be able to keep itself in a single lane and follow traffic in front. It should be able to stop automatically if there's a problem up ahead, but it's not going to be full level 5 autonomy that it's promising for sometime after 2020. So off the bat, the next generation Nissan Leaf is probably going to have more technology in it than the current Chevrolet Bolt EV. And that may encourage some Nissan customers to stick with Nissan and extend their lease for another 6 months to a year. And while we don't have full specifications yet for the 2018 Leaf, spy shots seem to suggest that the 2018 Nissan Leaf is going to share quite a lot of design cues with the original Nissan Leaf, and it's going to be a similar size, which means it's going to have a similar luggage capacity to the outgoing Leaf. Now, the Chevrolet Bolt EV does have a slightly smaller load bay capability, and the seats are a little bit narrower because the car itself is a little bit narrower. So, if you are a fan of the Chevrolet Bolt EV and you're a fan of GMs in general, then you probably shouldn't extend your lease. But Nissan wants you to stay with the brand, and that means that Nissan's going to be pushing a bucket load of incentives to those who are willing to be early adopters for the 2018 model year car. And Nissan's actually said that if you extend your lease, by the way, this offer is open to anyone whose lease expires on or after April 1st this year, Nissan will keep you in the loop regarding the 2018 model. Now, it hasn't gone as far as to suggest that you will have early access to the 2018 car, but it's certainly going to keep you in the loop, and its dealers will certainly contact you the moment those cars start to become available towards the end of this year. Now, what about pricing? Well, the car's slightly bigger and it's going to have some more advanced technology, but expect Nissan to offer S, SV and SL trim packages just as it has with the existing Leaf. And that means that pricing could be either slightly higher than the Chevrolet Bolt EV or maybe slightly lower than the Chevrolet Bolt EV. We should note here that the Chevrolet Bolt only has 2 trim levels, the LT and the Premier, so Nissan may be able to undercut the Bolt EV with an entry-level model that's very no frills and exceed the Premier in terms of pricing with a high-end model with all the bells and whistles. But it's worth noting too that Nissan is saying that it thinks that the Nissan Leaf will exceed expectations, both in terms of styling, in terms of specifications, and in terms of range, which does suggest that we are looking towards that upper end of 250 miles per charge, or maybe even more. So now it's clear, despite what Carlos Ghosn said back in January at CES, that Nissan is losing enough customers to the Chevrolet Bolt that it's chosen to announce the 2018 Nissan Leaf now, and deal with the fact that it's probably going to have lower Leaf sales as a consequence between now and then, in order to ensure that those leaseholders don't leave the brand. Now, if you're an existing leaseholder, there might be some room there for playing with Nissan a little bit. Expect those lease deals, those extensions, to be fairly flexible, and you might be able to negotiate a little bit with your dealership just so that they can keep your custom. This does sound a little bit like Nissan is desperate, but it's also a good marketing ploy on Nissan's behalf. Nissan gets to keep its customer base, and it also then gets guaranteed sales for the next generation Leaf when it launches later this year. If Nissan loses all those customers to the Chevrolet Bolt, and it knows most people are going to lease their next car, then it's going to suffer in sales in September because all of the customers that would naturally go for the next generation Leaf have all gone to Chevrolet. So, smart move, Nissan. Are you going to extend your Nissan Lease, or are you just going to go and buy another EV from a different automaker? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And if you liked what you saw today, please do consider supporting us through Patreon at patreon.com/transportevolved. I'll throw a link to that in the description below, as well as a clickable link at the end of this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. My name's Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. Until then, keep evolving.